Hello friends, Ace Botane next episode. In this episode, we'll be discussing biological classification fourth one. Meanwhile, I am putting daily 3 to 4 questions in shorts. Preferably two will be after, that is during lunch time, around 12:30 to 1:30. Then 2 will be after 8:30. Presently, I am putting 3 questions, sorry. One more question will be added. So that total become 4. In the sense, 2 will be from first year, 2 will be from second year. Presently, I'm putting only second year, but I will change it. Why it is delayed? Now, first year classes not yet started. That is why. Okay, soon we'll be doing 4 questions, 2 plus 2, first year, second year. Okay, we can proceed. Bio classification, fourth one. What all things we'll be learning in this episode? As usual, there'll be introduction. Then we'll be entering into subject, general characters, features, then classification of fungus, importance, all this. Then after that, 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question as usual with the key. Subscribe this channel, so you'll be getting all this. So we can proceed. I will share the screen, so it will be convenient for you. I think screen came, so we can proceed. That is biological classification, fourth episode. So as we start with the introduction, study of fungus, it is called mycology, and scientists dealing with mycology, they are called mycologists. And kingdom of fungus is a big group. Their habitat, habit, different groups, criteria for classification, reproduction, then what is their disease causing ability, all this, the economic side, all will be just discussed in this episode. That is why I put an episode for this fungus introduction, big area. Now we can continue. Photograph we can find famous mycologist Anton D. Barry. Now habitat and habit. They are commonly seen in warm, humid areas. Important question, theory and runs. No chlorophyll in them. That is in fungus, no chlorophyll. That is, they are heterotrophs. Normally thalloid body. They are eukaryotes and spore producing in nature. They are multicellular. But remember, there are 1 or 2 cases where unicellular nature of fungus can be seen that we will be discussing as we proceed. Very less. Unicellular fungus will be very less. And 1 or 2 will be there that will be continuing as we proceed. And many are pathogenic. Many are useful. Worldwide in distribution. Cosmopolitan. High diversity and variation among fungus. I think first page is clear, so we can proceed to second page. The top you can find 3 photographs that belongs to NCERT explaining or showing Mucor Aspergillus agaricus. Figure number 2.5 in NCERT. Now, fungus generally haploid in nature, N. Again, some exceptions are there in certain conditions. Normally haploid, N. It is thalloid without much differentiation. Certain cases, they are unicellular only. This page it will be coming. That is one yeast, an important fungus, economically and exam point of view. Second is Syncytium, causing what disease of potato. These 2 typically unicellular. Unicellular fungus are very rare. That is why it can be a question. Mostly multicellular nature, different habitat, mostly terrestrial. And some habitat with a technical term given. If it is on bark of the tree, it is called corticolous. If it is on cow dung, it is coprophilous. If it is on wood, epicyclic. If it is on burned wood, xylophilous. On materials like keratin, it is called keratinophilous. So area where they live according to that name came, prefix came or suffix came. Next, they prefer warm and humid conditions. Important question. Now coming into body of fungus. Normally, fungal body is made with a certain thread-like structures. It is called hyphae. Theory question, NEET model question, diagram drawn there, marked there, so it will be easy for you. So normally, fungal body is made with a certain thread-like structures called hyphae. And many hyphae, they're arranged in a network manner. Then it constitutes what is known as mycelium. Here you can find hyphae and mycelium. 2 types of hyphae can be seen. One, without septa, then it is called aseptate. Second, with the septa, it is called septate. Here you can find. If septa is there, then from here to here, connection will be partly blocked. So for that, some openings, some pores will be provided. This is mycelium, assembly of hyphae. A part of mycelium ella, that is hyphae. Now, in fungus, most of the cases, it is septate. So to get connected, there will be pores. Different types of pores will be available. normally single nucleus can be seen in primary mycelium, or there may be N plus N condition that is called dikaryon stage that is seen in secondary mycelium. In some cases, specifically primitive fungus, we can find no septa or cross wall, so there will be many nucleus. It is often called cenocytic or syncytium. I think up to that it is clear. Now we can proceed to cell wall. Cell wall is there in fungus like plant cell or algal cell. So cell wall bearing organism, fungus. But remember, cell wall chemically it is fungal cellulose, otherwise called chitin, important for exam. It is made by N-acetyl D-glucosamine. But in some lower fungus, again an important area for exam, lower fungus, especially cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cellulose is a character of plant side. But in certain lower fungus, we can find cell wall is made up of cellulose. And typical example is earlier groups of fungus like Oomycete, primitive members that include Pythium and Phytophthora. So Oomycete members. Typically, we can say Pythium and Phytophthora where cell wall is made up of cellulose. Normally, cell wall in fungus is chitin. I think idea clear. Now, reserve food material. Again, here it is important because in plants, normally we will say it is starch. In fungus, it is glycogen and oil. So reserve food material in fungus is glycogen and oil. These are all important questions. That is why I given separate headings. Now, Golgi bodies. So when we come to Golgi bodies in fungus, it is unicisternal. In cell, the basic unit of life, we studied this term unicisternal. Then nutrition, no chlorophyll in fungus. So naturally, photosynthesis is absent. Nutrition can be mainly saprophytic, can be parasitic or symbiotic types. Can be also safe. Now, two phases of cell cycle, means life cycle, not cell cycle, two phases of life cycle. One is vegetative, one is reproductive. Now we are taking single-celled organism. In single-celled organism, what happens is only single cell. So this entire cell will be converted into reproductive structure. Then the term used for it is holocarpic. Everything written this will be easy for you. Holocarpic. Holo means complete. Typical example is yeast. In multicellular fungus, we can find only a part of the body is converted to reproductive structure. Then it is called eucarpic, as in the case of agaricus, mushrooms. Now comes reproduction. Generally, we can say three types: vegetative, asexual, and sexual. I think it is clear. Now we can proceed. Vegetative reproduction, in their turn, consists of three main events or types. One is fragmentation, one is fission, one is budding. While asexual reproduction also seen, different types are available, which include specific spores like zoospores, sporangiospores, conidia, chlamydospores, and oidea. Now, spores are the most common method of asexual reproduction fungus. Certain names you can find there: zoospore, sporangiospores, chlamydospores, likewise. And zoospores, they are formed inside the zoosporangia, so endogenous. Zoospores inside the zoosporangia. See, actually, sporangia means, angia means sac, spore-bearing sac. So, spore will be inside the angia. That is how the term zoosporangia or sporangia came. So, zoospores will be inside the sporangia. That is called zoosporangium. Flagella normally seen, it can be uni or bi. Typical examples are Syncytium and Pythium. Now, sporangiospores are formed inside the sporangium. In favorable condition, it is non-motile thin-walled. Example is Rhizopus. Rhizopus show many types. Conidia are thin-walled, exogenous, formed on conidiophore. PHRA means top, on which conidia will be formed. Typical example is Aspergillus and Penicillium. Now, chlamydospores, they are thick-walled. So, automatically resting spores in the case of Rhizopus, they show resistance. They can face adversities. That is thick-walled. Now comes last type, oidea. Oidea is our non-motile thin-walled. And for these special conditions needed, again seen in Rhizopus. So, exogenous nature of spores we can find typically in conidia. Oidea may be more towards exogenous. Now, endogenous type. It can be seen in zoospores, sporangiospores, that is definitely endogenous. And chlamydospores, maybe. Variations can be possible. So, exogenous, endogenous, exogenous, spore outside, endogenous, inside. I think idea clear, exon, endo, odd one question we can anticipate. Now comes sexual reproduction. It is bisexual spores. And three sexual spores normally explain. One is oospore, one is ascospore, one is basidiospore. These spores are produced in respective fruiting bodies normally. Typical example, ascospore is produced in a structure called ascus. You can find here diagram. You drawn there, label there is very clear. Now, basidiospores are seen in a structure called basidium, which is normally club shape. Ascospores normally 8 in number. It is inside the ascus, that is endogenous and non-motile. While basidiospores, they are outside. So they are exogenous. And they are formed on stalk-like area. It is called steric matter, non-motile. I think it is clear now. We can proceed to next one. In sexual reproduction, 3 basic steps involved. One is plasmogamy, one is karyogamy, other is meiosis. So what is plasmogamy? Gamy means union, wherever it comes. So it means fusion of protoplasm between 2 motile or non-motile gametes. And in this case, hyphae are compatible to each other. And there are different types of plasmogamy available. NCERT page number 17. 5 types are there. That much details not in NCERT. That is why names are given there. Planogametic copulation or gametic fusion. There include iso, aniso, and oogamy. One specimen is allomyces. Now, many are there. Many types, because 3 types will be iso, aniso, oogamy. Then gametangial contacts. Typical example is oomycetes. Gametangial copulation, as in the case of zygomycete. Spermatization, higher fungus like basidiomycete. Somatogamy, higher fungus like basidiomycete. I think after that it is clear. Now, what is karyogamy? Karyo means nucleus, gamy means fusion. So, fusion of 2 haploid nuclei to form diploid condition. In some cases, there is a stage N+N, which is dikaryon stage called as dikaryophase. Later, the 2 nuclei will fuse to form 2N condition. So, karyogamy takes place. I think up to that it is clear. Plasmogamy, karyogamy. Then next is meiosis. Now, diploid structure form. It is connected with the floating bodies. And there the meiosis takes place. The haploid spores will be formed. Now comes classification of fungus. See, any classification anywhere, different criteria, different models, different modes will be utilized. We'll be approaching more towards NCERT because for NEET exam, NCERT is the basic book in medical aspects. Means NEET exam. Different types of classifications are available based on different criteria. The commonly used one is, that is, criteria for classification of fungus according to NCERT 1. Morphology of mycelium. Mode of spore formation, what type of spore, where it is formed. Mode of fruiting body, what type of fruiting body has been formed. And that is what given in NCERT page number 17. Now, basically 4 groups we have to proceed. That will be continuing next episode. Phycomycete, algal fungus. Ascomycete, sac fungus. Basidiomycete, club fungus. Deuteromycete, fungi imperfecti. All will be explained in coming episode. Now, as usual, after this, 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. So we can just rewind. So you'll be getting an idea what all things we learned in this episode. Okay, we started with the bioclassification, 4th episode, mainly dealing with the fungus. Then what is meant by mycology? Who are mycologists? What is contribution of Anton D. Barry? He done a lot of work in fungus. After that, habitat and habit, warm, humid area, no chlorophyll. So heterotrophs. They can be basically multicellular, unicellular forms are available. Useful fungus are there, pathogenic fungus are there. High diversity they are showing. Worldwide occurrence. Pandemic. Now, general features of fungus. 3 NCERT diagram, Whittaker, Aspergillus agaricus. Then, normally haploid in nature. Again, some exceptions like N+N, etc. Thalloid without much differentiation. Single-celled fungus, yeast and Syncytium. Majority multicellular. Mostly terrestrial. And areas where they can be seen like bark, cow dung, wood, burned wood, and keratin, etc. Then warm and humid condition. Then body that is made with a certain tube-like structure or thread-like structure called hyphae. Many hyphae arranged to form mycelia. Diagrams you can find the 2 types of hyphae available without septa, no crosswall, with the septa. Then if crosswall is there, some openings will be there on the septal. Septal spore we can find. Normally single nucleus is seen in primary mycelium and there can be N+N condition. Secondary mycelium, sometimes no crosswall. So many nucleus can be seen to be xenocytic. Now cell wall important, fungal cellulose that is chitin. Cell wall is there, made by N-acetyl-D-glucosamine. Then in certain lower fungus like Pythium, Phytophthora, Oomycetes members, we can find it is cellulose. So cell wall is important, exception is important. Reserve food material is glycogen and oil, important. That is why given separate headings. Then Golgi body, it is unicisternal. Nutrition, no chlorophyll, so no more photosynthesis. So it will be mainly saprophytic, can be parasitic or symbiotic. Then two phase of life cycle, that is vegetative and reproductive. Then what is meant by holocarpic example is, what is meant by eucarpic example is agaricus based on conversion to reproductive structure. Then reproduction general, vegetative, asexual and sexual. Under vegetative reproduction, three types will be again seen, include fragmentation, fission and budding. Asexual reproduction, that is different types and forms are available. Zoospores, sporangiospores, conidia, chlamydospores, and oidea. Spores are the most common method of asexual reproduction fungus. Zoospores, what is the peculiarity? And they are motile or non-motile. Sporangiospores, it is endogenous, exogenous, rhizopus. Then conidia, again exogenous, Aspergillus penicillium, chlamydophore, thick-walled resting spore, rhizopus resistant. Then oidea, special conditions only will be produced rhizopus. Then exogenous and endogenous zoospores or structures. Then sexual reproduction, that is through sexual spores like oospore, ascospore, basidiospore, and they are formed inside our respective fruiting body. Ascospore in ascus, basidiospore in basidium, club-shaped structure. 8 ascospores normally will be there. They are endogenous and non-motile, while basidiospore normally 4 exogenous and non-motile. So ascospore is endogenous, remember. Basidiospore is exogenous, usually that is a famous question. And basidiospores form on a certain stalk-like area that is called steric matter. Then sexual reproduction, there will be 3 basic events, plasmogamy, karyogamy, as well as meiosis. Plasmogamy means fusion of protoplasm between 2 motile or non-motile gametes. This is NCERT given definition. And different types will be there, like planogametic copulation or gametic fusion, gametangial contacts, gametangial copulation, spermatization, and somatogamy. Then followed by karyogamy, 2 haplonuclei fused to form diploid. Meanwhile, intermediate stage can be there like N+N. Then karyogamy is completed. Then comes after diploid stage, there should be normally meiosis. And in the fruiting bodies where it is that the structures has been formed, there the meiosis takes place, haplospores will be formed. Now classification of fungus, 3 important criteria: morphology of the mycelium, mode of spore formation, and mode of fruiting body formation. NCERT page number 70. Now 4 groups: Phyco, Asco, Basidio, Deuteromycete. Algal fungus, sac fungus, club fungus, Fungi imperfectae. After that, 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. If you like all this episode, subscribe all, like it, share it, comment on it. We can meet later. So take care. Bye. Thank you.